Netanyahu is talking about how he will go fully in Gaza and will occupy it forever. At the same time, Trump is giving a speech in Riyadh talking about possible lifting sanctions, lifting all the sanctions on Syria. Is talking about how Saudi Arabia is this great nation. Is talking about how we need to help these nations. And right after he gave his speech, I'm getting reports of sirens across all of middle central Israel. I have no idea yet what it is for, or if there is any attack. I'm sure we'll either, if we have some people from Israel, they can let me know, or I'm sure we'll see some reports about it soon. And generally, I think we are really at a eve of either peace or an actual occupation that hopefully could start. But a lot of things are happening. So welcome to the Daily Objective. Joining me today is Anders Ingemarsson, who hasn't actually been on the Daily Objective before. So it's great to have you here. And yeah, so a lot of things are happening. I mean, Anders, I mean, what do you think? So yeah, I'll bring up one quote from Netanyahu specifically. He met with soldiers, and one of the things he said during that meeting was, "We will conquer Gaza, and our security control will remain there forever. Within days, things are going to happen in Gaza. Things will happen that you haven't seen before. We didn't do everything we've done in Gaza so far just to return to the starting point. Things have changed. A decision has been made to go all the way. We are very close." Now, he is obviously referring to the Operation Gideon's Chariots, which is something that was, I think, first we knew about it about a week ago, and it was said that basically by the end of Trump's visit, there's either going to be a deal or Israel will go fully in. And once Israel goes fully in, there will not be any sort of deal on a table. Nothing will be possible. It would include occupation of some parts of Gaza. Now it seems like Netanyahu is saying we've already decided pretty much before Trump is even leaving. And I'm wondering to what extent it is influenced by the speeches Trump has been given across the Middle East, as well as uh, one more thing I wanted to say, as well as the fact that Trump is not visiting Israel during this visit. So yeah, Anders, are we looking at possibly some kind of occupation finally?
Well, your guess is as good as mine. Both Netanyahu and Trump are self-serving politicians, and I don't know what Netanyahu's latest gambit is in order to maintain his control and staying in power. That's his primary purpose, it seems to have been. That's the red thread that has gone through his entire career. So I believe it when I see it, when he says that we will occupy Gaza. I mean, I have many times said that I am for an occupation. I actually think it's the only realistic solution long term, and that is for Israel to not only occupy Gaza, but also the West Bank, southern Lebanon, and southern Syria. And slowly but surely, over a couple of generations, integrate the Palestinian people into a society that is based on respecting individual rights, including property rights.
Yeah, and this absolutely, as I said, needs to happen, and it really sort of it feels nice, but as you've said, we cannot really rely on almost anything Netanyahu is saying. Now, if some operation starts, that would definitely sort of go towards something better. Now, I also have a comment from one of the soldiers that I can say. He was wounded in the battle in Gaza. He said, the forum, so this was at basically a forum for soldiers. The forum is making a clear call to the prime minister, the cabinet, the political leadership, and the general staff forum for a complete victory in the war, to stop the stagnation, to break out of this back and forth, and to demand a full victory, with the understanding that the blood of our friends and our own blood will not be in vain. I, who last week attended 6 different memorial ceremonies, promised my friends who fell in the same incident in which I was wounded that their blood would not be in vain. for once, may the state of Israel know how to decisively resolve this matter as it should, without folding, without groveling before some organization of a few Hamasniks, which is definitely great to see this moral clarity, at least from the soldier. We just need it from both the general public as well as the leadership itself to know that the only way to sort of resolve this conflict is to finally do something in Gaza, is to finally not to defeat Hamas, defeat the Palestinian sort of ideas, defeat the ideas that made this possible. And unless that happens, we cannot hope for any solution in Gaza. It's just going to continue to be the same thing. Um, Anything you'd like to comment on that?
Yeah, well, at the same time, you have the whole hostage situation where it's obviously totally understandable that the families and many others want to bring the hostages home, but it has almost, it seems to have taken on almost a religious fanaticism of some kind, that we have to bring the hostages home. And as those negotiations are dragging out or not going on at all, and most recently here yesterday, I think it was Steve Witkoff who professed to an audience of hostage families that their children are his children, basically. So that is not helping if the goal is to occupy Gaza and put an end to this. Those six soldiers that you quoted from, or you quoted from one of them who was injured. I mean, if Israel would have acted decisively at the outset of this conflict, those soldiers would probably not have been casualties, right? Because so the casualties continue to pile up in order to hold out hope to bring home the remaining hostages, dead or alive.
So I have a report that no injuries have been reported, and it was a missile launch from Yemen. Although
Oh,
some people were
from the Houthis, that didn't they promise to stop? Didn't
no, they only promised to America that they will stop. Israel was not involved in that
Israel
negotiation.
was not part of it. So okay, all right. So the great peacemaker Trump did not cover that, or that was not part of the bargain. Okay.
And this is actually a great segue to the clip that I wanted to play from Witkov, so we can check out that. Although I should mention, according to reports, some people were hurt while rushing towards the sheltered areas because, of course, they only have a few minutes to move. But let's listen to a little bit of Witkov.
He's not going to tolerate anything other than everybody coming home. And he will be relentless in that pursuit. You saw what happened with the Houthis. You saw what happened when people don't do well with the United States. We don't do so well with them. So it's a message of do what we ask you to do, and then things will be better.
So it goes for a bit longer, but that was exactly the part I wanted to play. We did the same with the Houthis. So what did they do with the Houthis? There was an attack by the Houthis on Israeli airport, or basically one of the sort of missiles was able to sort of go through and hit the airport. There was a response from both Israel. There was a joint response from both Israel and America to attack the Houthis. They attacked the port. They attacked the airport in the Houthi-controlled areas. And then Trump made a deal with the Houthis without including Israel. Basically, they did it behind their back. Netanyahu was surprised that that happened. And afterwards, the Houthis, even during those negotiations, had said, yeah, we will still continue attacking Israel. And they did attack Israel right after, and just now attacked Israel again, when Witkov has said, look at this strength America has projected by attacking Houthis strongly and then making a deal which didn't include anything, since the Houthis are still attacking Israel. So it's still a threat. it's still a threat. Like it's not like from now on the international shipping will go through the Red Sea with no problems as it was before the Houthis started attacking it. So this deal, whatever it was nothing, was a complete BS. And this is the same thing we'll see. I mean, this just in from like maybe like 15 minutes ago when Trump was giving a speech in Riyadh, he wants to lift sanctions on Syria. He announced that he is going to lift all the sanctions on Syria. Again, Syria is right now an Islamist regime that has no control over sort of its borders, is a completely rogue state. We cannot really rely on them to do anything, and are already massacring many of their people, and we are just gonna not do anything about it. So, I mean, Anders, to go to you, what do you make of this? I don't want to call it diplomacy because like that all like assumes that there is I don't know, maybe some goal. This is straight up just trying to leave, trying to not have any, trying to not do anything, basically just run away from everything.
Well, I think it's a continuation of the Biden administration's policies. I mean, Trump is making a lot of being a strong man and so on, but it starts to look more and more like he is he is really a weak link in our foreign policy. And the reason for that is, you know, that the only principle that the man has is that anything he does has to serve him in the long run. You know, he is almost neurotically focused on how he looks in the eye of his supporters and for the afterworld, I guess, and his legacy and such. And couple that with his shoot from the hip pragmatism, you know, pragmatism which has basically was been the signifying policy of American foreign policy for a long, long time, but he seemed to have put it on steroids here in the first months of his administration, and that's obviously sending the wrong signal to the world, right? So going back to this Houthi deal, again, it's what's the larger context here? Well, the larger context is that Iran is supporting all of these satellite rogue organizations, the Houthis, the Hezbollah, Hamas, etc., etc. And before he gets serious, or whomever gets serious about eliminating that threat, before they can cut off the supply lines to these organizations once and for all. And the only way of doing that is to take down the Iranian regime, which could bring us to the, obviously, to the other area where he is trying to broker a deal now. So in Tehran, there is the same thing here now. It's negotiations, and there is a big risk that we're ending up with a kind of as disastrous a deal as Obama struck back in 2013 or something like that. You know, so in the eyes of our adversaries around the world, I think Trump is he is obviously what's the word I'm looking for? He is unpredictable in a way, but I think overshadowing that is more and more the fact that the lack of a principled foreign policy makes him look weak and America look weak.
And yeah, somebody also in the chat says predictably unpredictable, but also not really, because he predictably always does bad things. I cannot really remember him sort of like unpredictably, you know, I don't know, like deregulating like a sector that like nobody ever even or we didn't even think of, or striking at a nation or a Hamas or Yemen or anybody sort of that we didn't expect. Or having some support for Ukraine or doing anything domestically that was like surprising, and it was actually good for the American people, was actually good for the individuals in America or sort of abroad. Everything he does, every unpredictable thing, like not right now, like sort of lifting sanctions on Syria, it's and you said him about sort of he only cares about sort of to what he can bring to his sort of his supporters. And the fact is that he can spin everything, right? Every deal he makes is like out of the deal. Every and because of so many things that happen, nobody can realistically follow the news anymore. Like I said, lifting the sanctions on Syria. If I wasn't watching his speech at the Riyadh, I wouldn't know this for the show. And that happened like 5 minutes before the show. If I'm not like constant, like I have to have like open breaking news. If I don't have it, I'm like off the breaking news, right? As soon as I stop watching the news, I have no idea. As soon as I stop watching Truth Social, and I also have Truth Social sort of like his it's his social media. I have that constantly open because he just at 2 a.m. can Eastern time can just do like a random thing that has to be commented on because it is serious. Like
Yeah, I'm glad you're doing this because I don't have the stomach for it.
yeah, I mean something else that was brought up as in the news right now is of course the plane from Qatar that could serve as Air Force One. That was announced by Trump on Truth Social. That idea was even thrown around by him. Now the minority leader in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, is saying that it's basically going to hold off any Trump judge appointments until this thing is sort of like resolved. And yeah, that is like another thing. You don't even think about it, right? Like, oh, this plane that would go that would serve as Air Force One. Like, I don't even have an opinion. But the fact that it is from Qatar, the fact that it is during the time where we know Qatar is funding U.S. universities and like creating anti-American propaganda, we definitely know Hamas is being hosted by Qatar, and Qatar has worked on the behalf, or sort of has been helping Hamas to fight against Israel and against Americans. And at the same time, you have, in the past, Qatar has helped Steve Witkoff, who is the special envoy to the Middle East for Trump administration, has helped basically buying his hotels. Now apparently there's going to be like a new golf course, Trump golf course in Qatar. Like it's just so many things that we cannot even like act that like this is not normal. The amount of like I mean corruption. What else are you gonna say? Like
Right. Yeah,
conflict of interest. If you don't want to say it's corruption, it's a huge conflict of interest that this is happening at the same time.
but that doesn't matter to Donald Trump. Conflicts of interest. If you don't have any principles backing you up, it's just one pragmatic action from one pragmatic action to another. So that is not a surprise. But to your point about Qatar as a country, it's the perfect example of how the U.S. foreign policy is totally pragmatic, lacking principle, because not only have they supported Hamas, and I mean, it's unbelievable that the Hamas leadership is still intact, sitting in Qatar when, whatever skyscraper they inhabit, there should have been blown to smithereens in the first days after Hamas attack. And then the U.S., we have a big Air Force base in Qatar. It's I think it's the base for CENTCOM, Central Command, or at least they have a major presence there. That is basically from where they manage the entire theater, the entire region there. In addition to supporting Hamas, they have been supporting the Muslim Brotherhood, which is the ideological foundation for Hamas, I think. and during the Arab Spring, and have a history of doing all of this. And then, as you said, not only do they host and have financed Qatari campuses for a number of American and Western European universities, they have also provided a lot of funds to start up and influence Middle Eastern departments at American universities here at home. So Qatar is an adversary. It's not a friend, and we should disassociate ourselves with them. Yeah, we have a big Air Force base that both Qatar and the US have invested a lot of money in. Yeah, and I don't see, just like we have Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, let's just say, yeah, we'll keep this stuff, don't touch us. But for all other intents and purposes, we're not going to deal with you. So read up on Qatar online and look up the relationship between the US and Qatari's influence over the last 20, 30, 40 years. And I mean, it's it's disgusting.
Yeah, and Bonnie in the chat says he's constantly pulling the rug out from under citizens, giving him tremendous power high, or else he's seriously incompetent. But the thing is about sort of like being a president of the United States, the idea of competency doesn't even really fully work, right? Because you have people for everything. You're not supposed to do everything. Like, that's why you have experts. That's why Trump's first presidency was like relatively okay, because he had actually good people in his cabinet to do like his foreign policy on Israel compared to now was like incredible during his first administration,
Yeah.
right?
I wouldn't say that Trump one was okay. I think it was not a disaster. That's as far as I would go, because here in the US he did some victories. I mean, he was appointing a lot of good judges, or judicial appointments. He got through the tax cuts, which were not as major as people said, but spending grew on his watch. And the biggest problem in this country is our deficit and our overcommitment to the welfare state, and that is something that others may not necessarily focus on. But I can tell you that if the U.S. doesn't get its act together in the next decade or so in that area, that will impact the rest of the world, because
Yeah,
we will have the money to defend ourselves. We will not have the money to potentially help out our allies.
Yeah, I mean, even I mean, you mentioned spending, and I'm not sure if we'll talk about it soon, so I'll mention it here. The fact is that Trump right now is actually spending more than Biden did last year. Like basically, he is overspending him right now, and I've seen some people trying to defend it. Well, that's because they kept Biden's budget, but like he decided to like keep Biden's budget to like go forward, or at least his sort of inability to actually force something better through his Congress.
Right, and
Is
his stooges in Congress today, they are, we see a Republican pattern being repeated here, that whenever they're in power, they somehow lose their resolve, if they ever had one, and we're seeing a budget discussion that is truly what looking for a good word, but it's tragic. It is laughable. We have something called Medicaid here in the US, which is a program that 80 million people are getting their health care from, and they don't want to touch it.
Yeah, I mean, I always say, the type of leader or the type of president I would want in the White House is the type of person Democrats think Trump is. Oh, he's gonna cut Social Security, he's gonna cut Medicare. I wish we had somebody who's actually willing to do what is necessary with the amount of spending America is doing. And coming out with a better solution, right? Just getting rid of stuff is not okay. You need to actually provide sort of or provide a mechanism or a system for a private basically private industry to take over. Instead, Trump is gonna force down prices of meds through executive order, as he said. I'm not sure if he already did that executive order. Again, announced on his Truth Social that he's gonna change the prices of the meds. With executive order. So because why would you even need to legislate? Why bother?
Yeah, and you know, I mean, so his policies are truly, it's truly collectivist, and it's not very different from what Democrats would have liked to do. So domestically, looking more and more that he is stealing the thunder from the Democrats and doing a lot of what they would have done had they been in power.
Yeah, and as I mean, Deborah in the chat says Trump has been relying on Doge to cut all the waste to compensate for his spending and hopeful tax cuts. The fact is, saying Doge has under delivered is over exaggeration or is under exaggeration.
And you know that's not how you cut government. I mean, that's how you cut in a corporate setting. You may go in and slash and burn, you know, if to save a company or something like that. But that's not how it should be done in government. Yes, a lot of people argue that we have gone so far that it's the only way to do it. But then they should have had a plan in place before Doge was even formed about what to do. But the unpredictability of the whole thing, is I mean, it's a hallmark of authoritarianism. You know, what you do when you cut back government, what you should do is that you have a plan in place, and then you use the legislature, and then over a number of years, and in the case of Social Security and Medicare, it's probably decades that you slowly get the government out of most areas of the economy. There's a science to it, and Doge, there is no science to Doge.
Yeah, I mean, people should look up. This is a bit older, but sort of like the way Bill Clinton and his Republican Congress, like they got rid of a lot of federal employees, like a lot of federal employees. And they made tons of cuts, and of course it was a problem, but they managed to sort of like together do it, right? And the fact is, well, the biggest problem with any of sort of like spending problems is that the fact is that it is not because it's wasted or because it's not going into right places. It's the trillions spent on Social Security and Medicaid and those are going for the very much most part are going where they're supposed to be. The system sort of works the way it was designed. It's not a bunch of 1,000-year-olds that are like taking billion or hundreds of billions of sort of like fake checks or anything. It is going to the people that do have it, and unless you want to make a change there you will not achieve anything good, I think. Or you will not achieve huge saves.
So to tie this back to where we started, you know, this I've said for a long time, a rational foreign policy doesn't start with or involve other countries at all. It involves the main part of a rational foreign policy is leading by example at home. And by that, I mean getting your own house in order, reducing government, reducing taxes, reducing spending, get economic growth going, because with and deregulate. And if you do that, and I know we're a long way from that to happen, but if you do that, a lot of the rest will take care of itself, because you will become that shining city on a hill. You will set an example for the rest of the world. And the peoples of the world, they will start to put pressure when they see how America is kind of taking off, and the wealth that is created here, they will start to put pressure on their governments, and their governments will kicking and screaming coming to the table because they don't want to get elected or voted out of office, and slowly but surely they will start to adopt similar policies, and the world will be better for it.
Yeah, and Deborah in the chat says people paid into Social Security and Medicaid. I mean, when we say cat Medicaid or cat Social Security, we're talking about phase outs. Basically, make a plan for, at some point you will stop paying into it, and we will cap basically the amount you paid into it. You will sort of like get it at some point, but sort of it will go lower and lower. I'm not gonna like create the
Yeah, no. So
yeah.
so security is the easy part in practice. There are plenty of plans already out there for how to phase that out if the political will is there. It has taken us now 90 years to get to this point. It'll probably take another 50, 60 years to phase it out. But once you have a plan in place, people can act accordingly, and you can kind of table that topic. But we're obviously nowhere near that to happen.
Deborah corrects me, not Medicaid, Medicare.
Yeah, Medicare. Medicare is a little bit more tricky, but there is not a shortage of suggestions out there among think tanks and other pundits how we could resolve that. But the political will is obviously not there, and the people are not on board yet.
And with that, we are out of time. Anders, any last thoughts?
No, we covered a lot of ground. Hopefully it was of value to our listeners. So thanks for having me.
So we'll continue on the reality show. We will be talking about Dave Smith's crusade against Jews. Make sure to join for that. It's going to be a little bit of a different format. So make sure to watch, and we'll see how that format works. And yeah, you can let us know your feedback and see how that one will be. Thank you, Anders, for joining me today. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and see you in a bit. Bye-bye.
Thanks.